Greetings, beloved ones. This is your servant Udia Sempa, the CEO of Udia Sempa Spiritual and Herbal Center. Ibrahim TAROE is addressing a big issue that is collapsing African continent. And I think this speech that Ibrahim TAROE is giving, most of the message goes to we, the youth of African country. And he is advising us of being one and to become one or unity. He is saying we shouldn't be coward and a whole lot. For me not to waste my time, let's just go and watch the interview. Very interesting one. But if today is your first time meeting this channel, please subscribe to the channel and feel free to add on your comment section. Let's just go and listen to Ibrahim TAROE. The message is very, very massive and interesting. Don't forget to share the message too.
Ladies and gentlemen, we, in the country of human interests, I have the impression that we see a courage now in our strong seers who make security and our prudent seers who fight day and day against the problem of Césaire. I wish that our lenders can pray to us. For this power of the field and also for the recourse of arms of those who are on the field and also for the recourse of arms of those who are in spite of speaking to them. I thank you. Great Angel, thanks to you who allowed us to find ourselves here today on the occasion of the celebration of the International Day of Youth in good health. I say it very often because the human being, he sees himself God when he has no problem, when he is in good condition. And when I do this, it is the inconceivable of life. Give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. I leave him. I leave it for the end. I leave it after. Youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength, enough energy, as it seems that we can wash ourselves. It has been there well. Youth is this time where we have spent time. We must take advantage of time, take advantage of the time given to us, use the energy necessary to achieve our goals, to change the world, change our world, change the world of others positively. Children know that growing up is a way to be young. Old people want to become young. Everyone is going to be young. Youth is a pride of mission. So we are going to take advantage of youth to play a little victim. That is why when I see in the theme, I choose the first two words to the interpreters. Integration, security. Thank you. Maybe because in the challenge. And we are going to ask ourselves questions. Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of the nation? The answer is simple and without equivalent. We must know it. Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to accommodate their population. Africa is fortunate to have a very young population. The power of Africa is a big debate. It therefore asks us to consider the question of understanding why Africa has a young population and that it has not developed, and that the countries that call themselves developed seek to generate it in population. Once we manage to transform our youth into a real workshop at all levels and develop a continent program. To do this, we have two. We need integration. We need development security. We need our ideas. Of course, you will hear about the African Union. Yes, it exists. which is the challenge of the African Union in reality. We cannot talk about integration in the opera and not talk about the African Union, because it is this organization that should unite us, create integration in reality. We regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, which kills millions of young people, and that this organization that has the head of state for itself cannot organize itself to support certain countries. The union is not just a union, it is a symbol, and we young people came to take the pressure of this situation to come together to make the eternal an emergence of reality. I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which houses the headquarters of the African Union, was experiencing a conflict. And when I saw the first ministry of the Kriya and announced to make a university in the city of Addis Ababa to face the Amenerase, I did not see the action of the African Union to protect this headquarters. The Western states for the campaign saw the Addis Ababa fall. However, to pay the baggage and leave, Ethiopia fought, found an internal solution, and is more or less in trouble today. The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the forces and all the strategies necessary to sign these states so that they can find peace. We will not come to talk about Muniri in the Sahel again. For almost 10 years, the Sahel has been a third of international terrorism. There, we do not see any support from these organizations to find a solution to this point. Worse, a few days ago, the Senate, a foreign country in Africa, openly announced that it had supported and participated in a cowardly terrorist and talkative attack against forces in consideration in Tunisia. The African ships are only one point. It must be consistent. African ships do not admit any point. It must be consistent. African ships do not admit any point. It must be consistent. African ships do not admit any point. This interference of a state outside Africa in the internal affairs of our states. And it is for them that I would like them to hear it and come out in an hour, silence, and take action so that the youth can believe in the future. We must unite. We must unite, and the only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to make us believe in this basis of this creed. And young people, let me tell you, to unite, there are 3 words for 3 threads, 3 great threads that must be banished from our behavior and our life. I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incomprehension. We must banish this faith in our world of life. I will explain to you why. Cowardice uncovers many vices. A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become a slave. We make ourselves live. Our ancestors were not cowards. And if we are cowards, our children will ask us questions. Imagine, for Burkina, we refused our parents and we accept to rise up, to live slavery. Tomorrow the children will reassure you and ask themselves questions. Our parents were all cowards to leave us in slavery. That we are all still cowards. Cowards are afraid. And the imperialists have understood. They try to scare the leaders so that you are cowards. Because when you are a coward, all the other sons can be. In fact, so that we are afraid, they come to our palaces. They threaten us directly or with fictitious threats. Of course, we respond when necessary. They try to make us understand. They give examples every time. They will tell me, you know, Thomas de Sankara tried to do it like this, but where is he? He is dead. The president tried to do it like this. The government tried to do it like this. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Why do we get a crazy way to scare us? And then we also often see some young people trying to fit the weight of our way. We can hear them say, such a person reigned the target, he has the target. Such a person reigned signs, he has the target. Such a person reigned signs, he is in prison. All that to try to scare us so that we become cowards. I think they did not understand such a thing. When we say the homeland, we love it, we have it. It is a homeland that we love it. It is the homeland we love. It is the homeland we love. It makes perfect sense. We are not afraid, and we are never afraid. They are not afraid as far away as for you. And each state has made peace. You see, often when we express ourselves, when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad, we often make remarks to interpret the African chapter so that we wake up. Take care of the youth to be able to initiate our little big husbands. You know that it is normal. Some have publicly recosted our bows because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, I remain, that when we find ourselves in power, some heads of state say, you are on the right track. This is what must be done. When we have the pressure to know why you do not do as you, why you do not accompany each other. Some tell us that they have the same ideas. Some tell us that they cannot. Dear elders, dear African deserts, at the level of this procedure, I would like to say that the African peoples are the most peaceful peoples. When you reap these victories, we must tell the peoples that we are not afraid that December lasts, and tell the peoples, we apologize. We to which, as promised, we have been compromised. We have deviated badly from us. We have been compromised by several things, and that we ask for forgiveness, and we will return to the right path. Thank you. I start working pay end the dependencies of the decide who is our emancipation. I think it is possible. If we stay in this posture of fear, we will be cowards, and history will judge us. Our children would ask questions. Our grandchildren would ask questions. We are discovering history. There's no room for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowards, we would not be here. Remember, I take you an example of life bazaar. I will tell you about Camerooni, the Union of Population of Camerooni, which, since the 50s, began a fight against the settlers. They were massacred. The French colonial armies, in its time, poured infantry buildings, tanks, helicopters, improved the village party. The Turtles of South, the most inhuman elected in this piece. In this period, you can do research on what they call the swing, or the Bakassim, the 100,000 and the greatest of the sons of the country, who came here to Africa because they dared to do things so that we put some earth. That holds you well. That's what lasted several years. That is to say that imposed people have confronted the imperialists at the same time, so that we are here. There is no reason why we cannot confront the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are people who have done it across Africa. So take courage, who refuse to be cowards, who fought, who faced. Well, let's be worthy of these people. We are here to know them, and let's be worthy. A coward cannot be a whole. A single big cowardly step, I did not know that. Because a coward, he is always ready, and it will do it. They will make us an offer so that we lose. Why are we cowards? And if we are cowards, we will believe. We must not put ourselves after. We must have lived. Africans were treated so that the slave trade succeeded in Africa. It is because Africans were treated that colonization was able to hold in Africa. One day in the evening we will see it. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba said, "Size," because the cause was ahead. And these same Belgian leaders came to Congo so that they guide us to individuals in Congo for an interview to satisfy the population. And you were able to follow that. The Lumumba bothered us. He died. We are happy. It is from there are many other heroes who have fallen so that we can take care of ourselves today. And it is a technique of imperialism to scare others by carrying out actions to really create an attack. It didn't start today. I'll give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Diakabona. He said, no, no, no. He came from a family of chiefs. Not from the chief, he was given by the power. He was a nurse in his 20s. He studied law in Senegal. He became a doctor in the city. When the RPA was created, he joined the Ivory Coast to lead the fight against the Unionists, against the invaders, against the current. He tried to organize Ivorian society. Everywhere people began to speak out. There was in his time General Michou, who had the Ivorian insurance groups massacred so that Sassat, this spirit of freedom, could never vomit. He continued his fight alongside Félix Bouboignon. They fought, but the most violent was Victor Diagabona, a representative of a completely generous threat. In addition to massacring the people who were demonstrating one evening, they killed him in an atrocious manner next to Poivre. A few hours later, when the people of Dubao, at the time of the assassination, they marched, they demonstrated, they were massacred by the army to die. The story is such, the facts are true. After his death, which scared Félix Govoya, they called him and they told him, if you continue the fight, you will take the sound very well. He was afraid and he rallied to go to his house. He was appointed minister in France, and later he had the problem of the death of the voice of the Loire. They used him to eliminate other people who dared to come and see her. I think that for me, is it happening? If you are afraid, you have let go, and you are ready for it. Unaltered. There are many other examples around the world. There are these phenomena that are also used and taken note of, and that they continue to use it. You see, some individuals, for example, found themselves in other countries and created a so-called government, like the government of Mali. Have you heard this story? It is only a technique that existed in time. I will take an example of Ames Shahani, Iraq. This mathematics professor, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recovered by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance and parallel government to Iraq in the United States. And he was used to being the sheep of sacrifices, because it was to him that they told to pronounce completely that Saddam Hussein was revealing weapons in massive situations. And he did it. They used it. And this fire was used to kill the millions of miracle aggressors, to destroy miracle. And you know what was the evening of Shalani? One evening after an interview, in the interview, he even said that he knows that the saw failed on his back. A few hours later, he was found dead from a ringing, dead from a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre ends. It was an experience. Previability is megism has no opinion. The entrance of megism you use yourself. And when it finishes using you, it makes you explain. I am happy. Let us follow my gaze to understand what I am talking about. I am always amazed. The third son, and I invite you to get rid of it, is incompetence. I come back again to the modus leaven that walked on the hand. Incomprehension. Incompetence, you will understand what here. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they have used to destroy African society. In our administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize ourselves. The incompetent have a lot of room next to friendliness, because the incompetent can walk you the price of their way of life. The incompetent can make you devote yourself to everything. The incompetent like the easy way. The incompetent like everything to follow well. The incompetent do not like those who are competent. They do not like those who are ignorant, those who seek. These incompetent are dangerous. When you are ignored, the incompetent does not like you. When you want to ignore, the incompetent does not like you. The incomprehensible is to know what is competent, and he will fight it until his last breath, because fear will make him complete. Seek knowledge and always work to be impeccable. Vanish the incomplicable, because through distractions, when they want to make us adopt, we become a skill. I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today. People get information through the internet and other things. A game that publishes an article on its pair. An agricultural project or a scientific project on social networks. I am young. I took the term. There may not be 1,000 views, but a game that publishes on opportunities. That's what I call number 3. It has millions of views. Exactly. As the young waiter said, we want to make you look like in futility. Become aware. Let's take an interest in your work and seek knowledge, seek competence. It's entertaining, it's good, but we're going to work now. Seek knowledge. They are still wasting time remaking me. And youth is the time. It's the period when you exploit your time to vomit. The imperious risk that. That's why they are going to multiply everything that is a distraction event. They will mutate everything that is an event that can distract you from your work, so that you are the incompetent ones. And at that moment, when you are asleep, the incompetent ones are chosen to lead everything that is an important structure. And you have the choice to comply. Let us not be incompetent. Let us try to do that. The incompetent ones often hide behind walls. They use the term democracy, freedom, without realizing what it is about. Comrades, democracy comes from there as much as youth is a state of mind. Whether it is democratic people, look at everyone. How can we impose democracy on the needs of 1 million people? That is dictatorship. That is not democracy. It cannot be imposed. If we have seen this democratic life, but look, we have seen scenes where people were prevented from entering assemblies. We have seen scenes where forces have landed in assemblies to be forced to take texts. We have seen more terrible scenes than that for people who deceived the manifesto. But they call themselves Democrats, and we are therefore called leftists. If this is democracy, I repeat, we do not want this democracy. You see, often the contributions of democracy, they do not seek to know what the meaning of the word democracy is in reality. They just approach in the definition that the realistic experiment gave it. They start talking about democracy. Democracy without anything appearing to be melting pot. That is incompetence. We must seek to have knowledge. Look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember one thing, there is no individual freedom that exists. This is a do you really think that escaping and living freedom is free? Freedom is collective. As long as we come into a society with rules, freedom is collective. Because if you do not respect the rule, you cannot come into society. If you are free to speak as you want, the other is also free to realize you as he wants. This is the video of the unique. If you are free to drive in the street and pass the red light as you want, the other is free to go to the sign to hit you. I remind you that if individual freedom takes the questions, we are in a society of disadvantage. This is why there are rules in society, and the rules, we really have to respect them. And there, we are talking about collective freedom. So some give themselves the right to talk about their individual freedom, but we are taking into account others. I think that is also part of their competence, because they do not seek to understand. They arrange the rights that perhaps the states have given them to seize or do for themselves by neglecting the freedom of others. No, freedom is collective. Before putting notes, we think of the freedom of others. And we must not transcend the freedom of others. So that means that we will have reserve. And once we have reserve, illegal freedom does not exist. Freedom is collective. And we must have. So seek knowledge. Let us read ourselves. Let us question history. Do not read history, which was a history written in their favor. Seek knowledge from several sources, and you will understand in history, which fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle to devastate us. And I will end you with the end of order, without making a rant again to get you out of communication. Because, as I say, it is the fatal soul of imperialism. And you must do everything to know who is true and false. Let's continue to dismantle the lies of the imperialized media that always try to create better problems in Africa. Because these media, through their mouths, they can bring you back to me tomorrow. Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position of weight. They bring you back a slave devil tomorrow. Be careful. I came here to have fun in this time. Burkina Med, where a young journalist came out with a sentence that left me perplexed. He was talking to me about North Korea and the journalist who was a mother of a brother in North Korea. Did he take the trouble to go to North Korea in Haiti to really see this mother of North Korea? The idea that the federalist media sold North Korea is more developed than many countries of the people. And because the media tells me North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they are dying. We take it that way. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How do they offer? Let's be careful with communication. We must not follow in a way to live these major media that seek to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their country. And the interest of their country is that Africa is divisible. So youth of Burkina or youth of Africa, we must suffer. We must banish incompetence, we must banish creativity from all the risks of our societies. We have been given the discovery of speaking to each other in regal sati of these opportunities that we have each time to speak to each other, to raise our awareness. And I invite you to distribute even better, to get to work, so that the activity of the New North, self-sufficient in food, is a reality. So that the activity of the New North in food is a reality. Because I have just learned the theme well. There is no security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, youth will necessarily end up in the state. There will be no security. If there is no security too, there is no security. so the two go hand in hand. Let's integrate this into our fights so that we can our parts in our developments arrange towards perfection for enough, transform into suffering of plurian, remote, that is beneficial for our first borders, that are beneficial for our populations to all projects. I wish you a very good day of reflection on the chosen theme, also on the essential role of youth in this format. Good church to all. May God make sure that all those who have made a trip have everyone in good health. I want this vision of the Federation to spread us. Woman to the received, the heart, by the grace of God, the homeland or love. Thank you.